Hi there. I'm 82 now, and looking back, there are many things I've learned, lessons about life, love, and growing older. But if I could go back and change just one decision, it would be this: moving into a nursing home. At the time, it felt like the right move. My family supported it, saying I'd finally get the care I deserved, the comfort I needed, and the safety that would put everyone's minds at ease. And honestly, I believed them. I wanted to believe that it would make life easier, not just for me, but for them too. But the reality? It was nothing like what I had imagined. I quickly realized I wasn't stepping into a more peaceful life. I was stepping out of the life I knew entirely. The routines that gave my days meaning were gone. The little freedoms I once took for granted vanished. And slowly, a feeling crept in. Like I was no longer in control of my own story. Now, I know many of you watching might be facing this same decision. Maybe it's for yourself. Maybe for someone you love. And I get it. On paper, a nursing home sounds like a smart, safe choice. But before you make that leap, I want to share something important with you. Something I wish someone had shared with me. In this video, I'll walk you through the 6 biggest regrets I've experienced since moving in. Things no brochure or family conversation ever prepared me for. These aren't just personal grievances. They're warnings. Hard-earned truths from someone who's lived them. And no, this isn't about scaring you. It's about informing you so you can make a decision with your eyes wide open. Because once you cross that line, going back isn't as easy as you think. So if you're considering this path, I urge you, stick with me until the end. Whether you're 28 or 88, these are things you deserve to know before making one of the most life-altering decisions there is. Let's begin. To help you understand why, let me start with the first and perhaps most jarring change I experienced. You know, one of the hardest parts of moving into a nursing home wasn't the small room or the unfamiliar faces. It wasn't even the food, though I'll admit, I miss having the freedom to choose what I want to eat. The real shock came when I realized that I had completely lost control over my time and my decisions. Before I moved in, I had my routines. I woke up when I felt like it, made my breakfast, chose when to read, when to walk, or when to just sit in my favorite chair and sip on a cup of tea. The decisions were mine, and those small moments, like deciding whether to have lunch at 12 or 1, made me feel like I had ownership of my day. It gave me a sense of freedom, a sense of self. But in the nursing home, that all changed. Suddenly, breakfast is at 7:30 a.m., whether I'm hungry or not. Lights out happens at 9 p.m., and no, you can't just stay up watching your favorite show. And forget about taking a walk when you feel like it. You need to wait for someone to be available to help you, if they're free. The hardest part? Realizing that I didn't have the power to make even the smallest decisions. It wasn't just about a set schedule. It was the fact that I no longer had the ability to choose. I couldn't just pick up my book whenever I wanted or go for a walk down the street. I couldn't even sit in the chair I loved, surrounded by my favorite books, my warm blankets, my memories. Everything that felt like home was gone. Instead, I was in a sterile room with a bed that wasn't mine and walls that felt cold, foreign, and impersonal. It wasn't just a change in location. It was a change in who I was. The feeling crept in slowly at first. I was no longer in charge of my life. And as the days went by, I realized something deeper. Once you lose that independence, the freedom to make small choices, the space to do things on your own terms, getting it back isn't simple. You adapt. You stop asking for what you want. You stop fighting. You adjust to their system. But in the process, you lose parts of yourself that you never thought would disappear. So, I ask you, before you make that decision, before you even consider moving into a nursing home, are you ready to give up your small freedoms? The ones that, over time, become a part of who you are? Because once they're gone, you'll miss them in ways you never imagined. Stay with me, because this is just one of the many lessons I wish I had known before making this life-changing choice. because once they're gone, you'll miss them in ways you never imagined. And as I was grappling with that loss of control, something else started to shift, something even more painful than routine, the quiet fading of connection. When I first moved into the nursing home, I told myself, this is just a new chapter. My kids reassured me, we'll visit all the time, Dad. You won't be alone. And in the beginning, they did. The grandkids came by after school. My daughter would bring me my favorite coffee, and the room felt warm with laughter and love. But time has a funny way of changing things. School got busy, work got stressful, holidays came and went. Eventually, the visits slowed. The phone calls grew shorter and then stopped altogether. Days turned into weeks, and some weeks, not a single familiar face walked through that door. I told myself they were just busy. I told myself not to bother them. I didn't want to be that burden, the one who calls in the middle of dinner or sends messages that go unread. So I stopped reaching out. I waited instead. And in that silence, I started to feel invisible. That's the part no one tells you about growing older in a place like this. You're not just aging, you're fading. Not physically, but emotionally, socially. It's like watching life go on without you. Your family celebrates birthdays, vacations, big milestones, and you're not there. You become a photo on their phone, a memory tucked away in the background of their lives. The worst part? You start questioning your place in their world. You wonder, do they still think of me? Am I still important to them? I want to ask you something, and I mean it sincerely. Are you ready to face that kind of loneliness? Because no one prepares you for it. And once it sets in, it's not just quiet, it's hollow. It echoes in every corner of the room when no one's there to listen. So before you, or someone you love, makes a decision to move into a nursing home, think deeply. Not just about the care and the convenience, but about the connections. Will they still come? Will they still call? Will you still feel like you belong? Because being alive isn't the same as being seen. And when you begin to feel unseen, another question starts to surface. Am I still useful? That brings me to the next realization I wish I'd known earlier. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you felt truly needed? It might seem like a small thing, but having a purpose, even a tiny one, can make all the difference in the world. Before I moved into a nursing home, my days were full of little routines that gave me meaning. I'd water the plants every morning, sweep the front porch, brew the perfect cup of coffee for my wife. They weren't big tasks, but they reminded me I was still useful, still contributing, still me. But in the nursing home, all those responsibilities vanished overnight. The staff are kind, don't get me wrong. They handle everything, from cleaning the room to bringing meals to your bed. At first I thought, wow, this is comfort. But comfort without purpose? It turns into emptiness. You see, when there's nothing left that you need to do, you start wondering why you're even here. I remember George, an 84-year-old man down the hall. He used to be a carpenter. His hands built homes, mended furniture, created beauty from raw wood. But now, his tools are gone. No workbench, no projects. Just endless time, and nothing to fill it. One day, he told me, I don't feel like I'm anyone anymore. That hit me hard, because that's what happens when we lose purpose. We start to fade. Not just emotionally, but physically too. Our minds dull, our spirits shrink, our bodies follow. It's like a slow unraveling of who we once were. So if you're thinking about moving into a place like this, or helping someone make that choice, please ask the hard question. What will give me purpose there? Not just what will keep me alive, but what will keep me living. Because life isn't just about being comfortable. It's about mattering. And as that sense of purpose faded, I also began to notice something far more physical. something many overlook until it's too late. And as my mind begins to tire, my body slows down. I didn't think it would happen so quickly. I really didn't. Before I moved into the nursing home, I was still pretty active. I cooked my own meals, took short walks around the neighborhood. I even pruned the rose bushes in my yard, just enough to feel the sun on my back and keep my body moving. But once I got here, all that changed. Suddenly, everything was done for me. Meals delivered, laundry folded, floors swept. At first, it felt like a luxury, a well-earned break. But here's the truth no one talks about. Comfort can quietly turn into decline. Without realizing it, I stopped walking as much. Why bother when everything is brought right to your chair? I didn't need to cook or stretch or lift a thing. Weeks passed, then months. And one day, I stood up and felt like my legs didn't know me anymore. I'll never forget Alice. She lived just down the hall. She was 81 when she moved in, and still walked the garden path every morning. First it was a cane, then a walker, then a wheelchair. Not because of illness, but because her body simply stopped being used. That's the danger. In a place where convenience is the standard, movement becomes optional, and the body starts to shut down when it's not needed anymore. And it doesn't just affect your legs or your arms. It seeps into your energy, your appetite, your spirit. Suddenly, the simplest tasks feel like mountains. So if you, or someone you love, is considering a move like this, I ask you to think hard. Will I still have reasons to move? To stretch? To walk? To stay strong? Because here's the hard truth I've learned. The body doesn't age by the number of years. It ages by the number of days we stop using it. Comfort shouldn't come at the cost of strength. And sometimes, the easiest life is the one that takes the most from us. But it wasn't just the loss of strength or routine that wore me down. It was also the little boundaries I used to have, the ones that made me feel human. You don't realize how much you value privacy until it's gone. In the early days of moving into the nursing home, I tried to stay optimistic. I told myself, this is just a new chapter, a bit of help, nothing more. But over time, something inside me began to shift, something I hadn't expected. It started small. A nurse would knock once and walk right in, even if I was resting or undressed. Routine checks, they said. Necessary. Then came the scheduled baths, assistance with using the restroom. And suddenly I wasn't just living here. I was being managed. It's a strange feeling, needing help with the most private parts of your life. Even when done kindly, it chips away at something deeper, your dignity. There's a quiet humiliation in asking someone else to help you clean your body or decide what you'll eat for dinner, especially when the food isn't what you like, but what's available. And let me tell you about shared rooms. Imagine spending most of your day next to someone you've never met before, someone who snores, talks in their sleep, or just doesn't vibe with your personality. It's like giving up your sanctuary, your peace of mind. One day I caught myself whispering when I made a phone call. I wasn't trying to be polite. I just didn't feel like I had the right to speak freely anymore. And that's when it really hit me. I wasn't just losing space. I was losing myself. Here's the truth that's hard to say out loud. When your life is organized around schedules, staff, and systems, it's easy for others to see you as a patient, not a person. And over time, you start to believe it too. So before you, or someone you love, makes the decision to enter a nursing home, ask yourself this: how much is my privacy worth? How much of my identity is tied to the little freedoms I take for granted? Because dignity isn't lost all at once. It slips away, quietly, one interrupted moment at a time. And then one day, I thought to myself, maybe it's time to go back home. But that's when the final truth hit hardest. But what hurt me more than losing control was losing connection with the people I loved. When I first moved into the nursing home, I told myself, it's just temporary. I'll try it out, and if it doesn't feel right, I'll go back home. It seemed like a smart, flexible decision. Low risk, right? But what I didn't realize is, leaving is never as simple as it sounds. At first, my old home sat untouched, like a time capsule waiting for me. But weeks turned into months. My family, with the best intentions, started packing things up. They gave away my favorite chair. They boxed up my books. There was talk of renting out the place. It's just sitting there, wasting money, they said. I nodded, thinking I wouldn't need it anyway. And during that time, my body changed. No more grocery shopping, no stairs to climb, no need to fix a leaky faucet or sweep the porch. Sounds convenient, right? But convenience has a cost. Without those little daily movements, my strength faded faster than I expected. When I finally said, maybe I'm ready to go home, I couldn't get up without help. I couldn't cook a meal, carry laundry, or even take a walk alone. That's when the doubts started. Are you sure you can live alone? My son asked. What if you fall? And I understood their concern, but it stung. Even if I wanted to go back, the finances weren't there. The house was gone, the savings were spent. And slowly, this place, this nursing home, stopped feeling like a choice and started feeling like a trap. I want to say this clearly. It's not that nursing homes are evil. They serve a purpose. But if you think it's easy to reverse the decision, think again. So if you or someone you love is thinking, we'll just try it for a while, ask yourself, what happens if we can't go back? What are we giving up in the name of convenience? Because sometimes, a temporary stay becomes a permanent goodbye. So where does that leave us? I don't want to leave you with only regret. I want to leave you with clarity. I want to be honest with you. I don't regret growing old. That's a privilege, one that not everyone gets. But if there's one thing I do regret, it's deciding to move into a nursing home too soon. Now, let me be clear. Nursing homes aren't inherently bad. They serve a purpose. For people who truly need around-the-clock care, they can be a lifeline. But here's the mistake I made. I treated it like the only option. And it wasn't. You see, there's a quiet truth no one really talks about. Sometimes we choose the nursing home not because it's what we need, but because it's what's easiest in the moment. It feels safer, simpler, less uncertain. But in chasing convenience, I gave up something much more valuable. My independence, my habits, my sense of self. Looking back, I wish I had asked a different question. Not, is this safe? Not, is this what others expect? But, is this truly necessary? Or just the most convenient path? Because there are other paths. Hiring a part-time caregiver. Adjusting my home to make daily life easier. Asking for help without giving up my autonomy. Most importantly, protecting my right to live life on my terms, for as long as I possibly can. So if you're facing this decision, or helping someone else face it, pause. Think. Ask the hard questions. Because once you give up your independence, it's not so easy to get it back. Freedom, routine, dignity, these are not luxuries. They're the foundation of a life that still feels yours. Cherish them, guard them, and remember, growing older doesn't mean you have to disappear into someone else's system. Live boldly, choose carefully, and never forget, aging may be inevitable, but how we age, that's still up to us. If this video makes you think, share it with your loved ones. They might need to hear this. Please leave a comment about your experience. I read them all.